Welcome, Hannah Waddington. You are from Lost Estate, which is a really exciting immersive theatre company. So we are really excited to have you today. Thank you so much. Um, I'm going to just dive straight into it. But Hannah, why don't you introduce yourself and maybe tell anyone who hasn't heard of Lost Estate what exactly is immersive theatre, and also what makes it different to traditional theatre?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Hannah. I am the Director for People and Culture at the Lost Estate. So we are an immersive hospitality company, an immersive theatre company. Um, when we think about immersive theatre, essentially it's about a space where we dissolve the boundary between an audience and performers. So instead of sitting in rows and watching a story unfold on stage, our guests step inside the world of the story and the world that
Mm.
we create. So they dine, they move, they interact within it. They're like really a key part of what we do. You know, they are in cahoots with us in a way in making these incredible experiences. So at the Lost Estate, we blend performance, we blend music, live music. So the company was started by three classically trained musicians, incredible hospitality, fine dining into one like seamless experience. So the goal for us and for immersive hospitality in general, I guess, is not just to tell a story, but really to create an atmosphere where people feel it in all of their senses.
Mm.
So it's theatre that you can taste, that you can touch, that you can inhabit. So it's really unlike anything else. You know, like our commitment to that detail runs pretty deep. So we have an experience coming up called the Great Christmas Feast, which is set in 1840s England and Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And we don't serve vodka because it wasn't available in that era. So, you
Oh, I
know,
love that.
or when you come along to Belle Livingston's 58th Street Country Club, which is a 1930s New York jazz experience, our wait staff all have American accents. So every drink,
Mm.
every note of music, every gesture should really fit the world that's been created. So I
So
think that's
everyone involved is part of the experience. It's not even if you're working as hospitality staff, you're still acting and being involved in the whole experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that in the immersive world, like people, there's a scale, right? Or there's a range of commitment that you'll experience. So some are quite passive and kind of will lean a lot closer to that maybe traditional theatre model, but maybe it's like the physical environment is structured in the way that you're involved, but everything else will be quite passive, whereas ours is very much, I think, still retaining this place that immersive has evolved from, which is really like fringe festival, fringe theatre beginnings, which are quite
Mm. Hmm.
um, which is now, it's becoming increasingly commercial. We see that the recent acquisition of Secret Cinema, for instance, is a great example of that. So a business that started with
Yeah.
these kind of underground screenings and now is part of one of the world's largest entertainment groups. So it's an
Yeah.
industry certainly that's scaling, even though it has this creative root to it.
Yeah, it's real, I guess it's quite a newish industry. And
Absolutely.
so what roles exist? So if a young person Joe is listening and this sounds really exciting, what would you say the roles are that they could be thinking about?
I think it's one of the really cool things about our business, about this industry, is that it's really broad, and that's like a challenge and an opportunity, right? But like alongside your actors, your musicians, like the roles that you might traditionally think of, we've got chefs, mixologists, designers, stage managers, you've got marketing, you've got producers, you've got sound and light, you've got people who do the costumes and like choreograph. So there's across the realms of, you're deeply creative, you're more analytical, you're more technical skills. There's, they're all represented, especially. So it's,
Amazing.
anyone who's interested in like service, logistics, engagement, there is a role for you in there.
Mm.
But I mean, the way that I kind of look at it, and again, because the industry is growing so rapidly is really as like almost a series of building blocks. So if you're thinking about a career in this space, think creative building blocks. So you might gain like leadership in a hospitality role. You might learn lighting design at a local theatre and kind of bring that along with you. You might get, you know, audience insights or engagement insights from working in a box office team. So each role gives you this new block, a new skill or perspective that you can kind of start building your future career on.
Mm,
As things evolve so rapidly, people who are, you know, who are able to see outside of maybe these narrow lanes that I think we get in more traditional industries are the people who are, you know, who are well placed to succeed and to shape what comes next.
yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And in terms of like entry level, we've spoken before, and I think hospitality is an entry level route, and maybe the box office, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But those are, I think, real, like that's where you learn incredible skills, especially soft skills. And I think that most people maybe overlook those roles, but I think if a young person is really interested in immersive theatre and everything that you guys are about, maybe talk a bit about those early career routes.
Yeah, so you know, those you're exactly right. I think you learn, you know, my background is in hospitality. That is absolutely the route that I came up through. And you do learn so much about how to interact with people, how to build relationships really successfully. And those are skills that, you know, you see in the most successful people in any industry. So I think that really focusing on that from the early stages is only ever going to be useful. Um, I think as well you can learn in those kind of roles, so front of house waiter roles, you know, working alongside, and we do have entry level roles on the creative teams. You know, you would be doing things like assistant producing, or you would be doing assistant like wardrobe, things like that. But again, coming back to this idea of being like interested and like proactive in these building blocks, we've on our upcoming show, actually we've got one of our waiting team has always kind of been interested in sound production, like is really interested in music. He asked our sound team if he could do a couple shadowing shifts with them, and like they were so impressed with how like engaged and curious he was that we've trained him, and he will now be a sound tech on our
Mm,
upcoming show. So he's, you know, there, I'd say focus on the relationships, focus on, you know, getting your foot in the door in those kind of entry level roles, and just show up with that curiosity and that drive to be kind of
mm,
helpful and nice to have around.
mm. No, totally. I mean, I think everyone started in hospitality. My first job was in hospitality, and it doesn't mean that you have to stay there forever.
No, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah, always kind of thinking about what can I learn in this role? Like, what are my managers doing really well that, you know, I can ask them more about?
Mm.
Yeah, I think that would be my suggestion, certainly.
Amazing. And what, in terms of entry level opportunities, are there? So do you offer internships, or, is it, like you said, assistant roles? And also, where can people go to find your openings?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do offer internships. So those are up on our website, which is thelostestate.com. Those are across departments, and we try and prioritize people who might not have opportunities to kind of get a foot in the door otherwise. I think the arts in general is built on a lot of like who you know. So we're trying to make sure that those opportunities are more widely available. Whenever we are starting a new production, we will offer the opportunity to shadow as well the work that we're doing. So to be in the room with our directors, our actors, our producers, our musicians. So you can come and join us for a day, for a week, and just be in that room, and again start building those relationships, and also see what that looks like in a professional setting with people who really know what they're about. If you wanted to look for something like stable, we do offer, you know, coming in to the hospitality team or to the kitchen team in those kind of runner, waiter, like
Mm,
junior chef levels. So you can kind of understand from that perspective, and again, see kind of where that route takes you from there. And then with our things like our technical teams, we're always open to having assistants join us, or again, even just people coming in to do shadow shifts. So all of that is, again, it's either on our website for the permanent roles, we have them on our LinkedIn page, and you'll see it just pop up on our
Yeah.
Instagram.
And hopefully on Eric.
And on Eric.
And in terms of experience, so I think a lot of young people now, are going after these internships, going after these entry level jobs, and maybe not, you know, getting to the final stages. What are you looking for on someone's CV or, personal statements
Yeah,
or whatever you're asking for?
yeah, sure. I think, especially if we're talking at that entry level, it's really a set of qualities that we're looking for in people. Um, so on my list for that is certainly that curiosity. I think that that's a key one in our business. So if you can show ways in which you've already engaged with what's going on in your community, with what's going on in your school, if there's instances where you've shown like you've gone out and you've been curious and found out more about the world, you've taken on a project or a challenge, those are the kind of things that I would certainly look for. Um, I think the other thing we're looking for is people who are adaptable. So,
Mm.
you know, when we work on things at the Lost Estate, we are typically like, if we launch a show, there will be a huge number of things that we're doing that we as a team are doing for the first time, that maybe are the first time they've happened in the industry. So for people who are able to kind of roll with the punches and will be able to show up in an interview, for instance, and show us that that's part of their wheelhouse, then those are definitely the people who do really well
And how does
in the.
someone show that? Would it be through examples of another, work like job that they did, or can you give?
Yeah, it could be like, I think, again, coming back to the breadth of the experience that we're interested in and the breadth of opportunities that we have. We're happy to see it in a number of different ways, but that adaptability for me might be, an example of a time when you've come up with a creative solution to a problem that you've had. Maybe that is, again, you've had a project at school where you've needed to work as a team and come up with a solution that you felt like, really displays that. So where for people who are coming in at that kind of early stage, we really want to get a sense of their openness. And we've actually been discussing as well this idea of like coming in with a lack of cynicism. So we need people who are able uh, to come in and like believe in whatever we're talking about in the room. So we'll take an idea and essentially say, like, if we were to wave a magic wand and make this with no restrictions, what would that look like? And we
Mm,
need people who can just be part of that conversation without being like, well, we couldn't do that because, or we couldn't do that because. So anything that shows, I guess, that creative side as well, and whatever that looks like, maybe that's for someone. Maybe it'll be different for someone who is who plays an instrument versus someone who actually the way that they're creative is much more structured or analytical, but they're working through a new and innovative process, or so whatever it looks like for you, but just how you link that back to making something incredible that you're really proud of, I guess.
oh, okay. No, that's really good. I feel like examples are always really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then talk a bit about like the culture, like what is it like to work at Lost Estate? Like it sounds really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I think it is. It's really challenging in that, as I've said, often we'll be doing things for the first time. We'll be answering a question that's never been asked before. We'll be figuring out how to make things work that, you know, haven't existed previously. And so that can be really challenging. But what we find is that everyone in the business is really excited by that, and that they are kind of energized by it. So if you were to come in and join us on site, you would find, I think, that there's a real energy and a real camaraderie in solving things together and kind of figuring things out together. You would find as well that I think that broadly this industry attracts people who maybe couldn't see themselves in traditional industries. So people
Mm,
who find that they stand a little outside of, you know, of the norm, or who
like the
feel,
misfits.
yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, exactly. So, you know, I certainly know a number of our team who felt like, I think, in school that they were a bit of an outsider or a misfit, and have
Mm,
really found their tribe in what we do, and the industry that we work in. So we kind of collect a lot of those and bring them all together, which is quite fun, I think. And you feel that in the culture. Um, but I think there's this commitment to making something really excellent as well, which is really motivating, and people
mm.
see that really clearly, kind of what you're driving towards.
Amazing, amazing. And what about subjects at schools or like degrees? Is that something that you look for, or is it not really? It doesn't matter. You could be not at
No,
uni.
no, less and less. I think, you know, there are, because the range of people that we work with is so broad, we will typically look for the right fit. So, you know, whether that is, like I say, the approach, the curiosity, that they've got most of the building blocks that we need in terms of the previous experience, and then we will train and qualify in anything specific that's required. That might get a little bit different as we're getting into some of like the head office functions, where you're thinking about the finance team, for instance. You know, I know some of our marketing team are quite well qualified at the most senior level, but there's no expectation that you would come in with that knowledge into any of
Entry
our
level.
starting positions,
Mm,
certainly.
okay.
And again, I think it speaks to the kind of misfit element of it as well. You
Yeah.
know, less traditional routes.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Well, it's nearly 20 minutes up already, Hannah. I know it's gone so quickly. But what would be, we love practical advice. Obviously, again, it's so difficult at the moment, I think, for that younger generation. What would be your biggest career advice to them at the moment?
Get in the room. So whether that is, you know, whether that is coming along to shadow, whether that is for a brief internship, you know, we will be starting to launch some opportunities to come and hear our senior team talk about their areas of specialty. You know, get in the room with whoever you can, and maybe that's a virtual room, maybe that's a reach out on LinkedIn to speak to someone who's in a role that you might be interested in future. Whether it's virtual or physical, just get in the room and start building that relationship, show that interest. And um, if that interest is genuine, I think that really comes across. And people, I'm optimistic. I think people love to invest in people who are excited and, you know,
Mm.
want to do what you do. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is networking, isn't it? And it is putting yourself out there. But nowadays there are so many easy ways to get in touch with people. Like you said, LinkedIn is a huge way. And I'm sure you wouldn't mind people connecting with you on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So yes, thank you so much, Hannah. It's gone so quickly. These things go, I know we could definitely talk for longer. But yeah, we are all really excited. Like I said, I keep seeing Lost Estate on my Instagram, TikTok ads. So everyone should check it out. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hannah.